Hi there, I'm Alex from the Southern Ukulele Store, and we're back once again today to talk about KA ukuleles. It doesn't seem like that long ago we were talking about KA. They released several new models in 2020 that filtered through in the second half of this year, and we made a video about them. You can find a link to that in the description. But today we're going to look at the wider KA catalogue, because KA have many overlooked or slightly under the radar models that you may or may not have heard lots of information about. I'll give you a good example. Pretty much everyone I know that comes in the shop has heard of the KA solid mahogany series, but very few people seem to know that they make solid mahogany electros with a cutaway. It just seems to be that the slightly more obscure models always surprise people. So I thought today we would try and show you 11 KA ukuleles that are going to surprise you, overlooked models. I have 5 concert and 6 tenor models to show you today at a really wide variety of prices. So we're going to start with a real classic, the KA-CE. Let's begin. Okay, the first ukulele to look at today is the KA-CE, which stands for the KA Concert Electro. It's a fairly basic instrument, but definitely one to look at if you want an affordable electro or just your first ukulele that does pretty much everything you're ever going to need it to do. It's a laminate mahogany on the top, back and sides. One of the fast growing strains of mahogany, probably a NATO or an agathis. Not very kind of textured in terms of grain, but really clean looking with a satin open pore finish and front and back cream binding. Modern KA-CEs have a laurel fingerboard, which is a nice hardwood that simulates the feel of rosewood or walnut. It's kind of somewhere in the middle. It's a hardwood, but not extremely hard like ebony. You have closed back classic style die-cast tuners with a 35mm nut and a new bone nut and saddle. For around £150, it does everything you need it to do. It can plug into an amp, but it's also a fantastic beginner's instrument, something that you could grow into and something that will last a couple of years for the average player before they need to start looking at something that's solid wood. Yeah, the KA-C is a classic, but not too many people know about the KA-CE. Let's give it a play and see what you think. Okay, the second ukulele we're going to look at today is the KA-ASFM-C-C. Now it has an extremely long name, which might be part of the reason it's overlooked, but that stands for the all-solid flame maple concert cutaway. Firstly, there's not many concert cutaways out on the market, and especially not that many with a Florentine cutaway. For those that want to know what a Florentine cutaway is, it's the style of cutaway. So it's a very long sheer cutaway that curves back in on itself. I'll show you some more clear examples of that later on in the video. It's all solid flamed maple, so a really nice figured maple. They all look pretty, but it's an affordable all solid wood instrument with a very clean, very transparent sound. If you want something that you can fingerpick and play very melodic pieces on, but you don't want to go up to a tenor size, this is a good choice. It also has a slotted headstock, which is quite rare on a concert as well, with those open back Grover style tuners. It's a Graphtec nut and saddle, so a similar composite material to the new bone material, but I think this used to be called Tusk, T-U-S-Q. I always get those ones confused, but a synthetic material with a 35mm nut, and this particular model has an ebony fingerboard and bridge. Yeah, just very deluxe looking. There's one other feature as well. If you like Padauk binding, that red binding, this one has purple. It's purple heartwood. Really, really nice wood bindings throughout this instrument, just to give it its own completely unique flavour. And it is just that. It's very unique in the KA catalogue. They make a tenor version of this as well, which is the much more known model. But for me, I thought it was worth showing you the overlooked ASFM-C-C. Let's give it a play and see what you think. Okay, moving along now to something pretty new from Kala that hasn't been talked about as much. This is the Kala KA-PX-MACA-C. There's a lot of different words there, but basically it's part of Kala's premier exotic line. It's maca wood and it's a concert size. It's laminate maca wood. Maca is a very similar looking wood to ebony or palfero. Just a really streaky, sexy looking wood. This has a gloss finish with a dark stain. It also has an armrest, so there's a very deliberate beveled edge there just for you to rest your arm on for maximum comfort. You have a 35mm nut here on a rosewood fingerboard and bridge, so a bit more traditional in feel, a bit of an upgraded feel from Laurel in my opinion. You also have these Graphtec ratio tuners, which are a through the back planetary style tuner. Really lightweight, and the whole thing feels completely different to everything else in the Kala catalogue. It just feels like a step up from other ukuleles at this price, and yeah, I highly recommend it to people looking for a concert that's just a bit cool and a bit different. Despite being a laminate, there's nothing really about this or the tenor version of this that sounds laminate to my ears. It has quite a textured, deep sound. And yeah, the MACA-C has been a bit less popular than the tenor version of it, because I featured the tenor version previously and forgot to mention that there was a concert size, but there is, and it's just as cool. So let's give the KA-PX-MACA-C a play and see what you think. Okay, moving up the range a bit now, we've got a real classic from Kala. This is the Kala KA-SMHC-E-C. And this ukulele has been around for as long as I have worked at the Southern Ukulele Store. Kala have in the past made left-handed versions of this. The first ukulele that I ever played was a left-handed version of this. And it's just a gorgeous traditional spec uke from Kala. I've talked about the SMHC and the SMHT before, which are the conventional shape, non-electro, non-cutaway versions of this, and I've always felt that they punch above their weight for the similar instruments around that £200 to £300 price point. The electro has a Fishman pickup with a built-in tuner, volume and some EQ settings. It has a 35mm nut with a Laurel fingerboard and bridge. You have the closed back tuners on this headstock. And the whole thing being solid mahogany just means it's incredibly warm sounding, and although I'm not going to start getting into demoing each instrument through an amp, I just want to let you know that the warmth of mahogany is the one tone wood that I think really translates into the sound of a pickup. This pickup is slightly warmer than the other ukuleles around this price, and by warm I mean it has slightly accentuated mids, so the C note, the C string and the E string stand out more prominently in the mix. If you want a unique sounding solid wood electro concert and you need to reach those higher frets, then you're not spoilt for choice, but you do have a really solid choice here in this model. This is the KA-SMHC-E-C. Let's give it a play, see what you think. Okay, let's move on to our last concert of the day now. This is the Kala KA-SACE, which stands for the Solid Acacia Concert Electro. This ukulele has been around in various forms for the past 10 years. A few changes have happened over the years. It's moved from rosewood to a laurel fingerboard with walnut at one point in the middle. It's gone from having rope bindings to maple, but there's so many different spec changes about this ukulele. But the core and really important things about it have remained the same. It's solid acacia on the top, back and sides. Acacia being a derivative of koa, a slightly darker sounding wood than koa, but with a very similar tropical vibe to it. If you play sleepy music, if you play chord patterns that kind of ring out and you want them to have a kind of compressed natural warmth to them, but also a slightly brighter chime, acacia is a good wood for that. And the solid acacia model is great in that you have this Fishman pickup that we've mentioned on the last model with the built-in tuner, volume and tone controls. You have front herringbone style binding, which you can see there, with maple binding on the sides, the front and back. You have a very simple herringbone rosette as well. This is the only model in the Kala catalogue to have these buffalo horn inlays. Sorry, I say model, this is the only range. So the soprano, tenor, baritone versions of this ukulele have this as well. But these buffalo inlays have always been a really popular feature about this ukulele. In the flesh, I think they stand out against other instruments at this price just because it has, and still has, a very unique look. Finally, one thing I'll say about this instrument is that it has spawned a whole generation of other ukulele company models. For example, without this ukulele, I do wonder whether acacia would have been quite so popular. You see it being used now all the time by Flight and Enya and all sorts of brands, but 10 years ago we didn't really have that much choice, and Kala were one of the first to really adopt and adapt to the market needing solid wood instruments. And this model may have changed a few times over the years, but it's still criminally overlooked compared to the acoustic version. We're going to give the KA-SACE a play and see what you think. Okay, next up today, folks, is the definition of an overlooked model. This model was released about a year or two ago now and has always been a stock model that we keep, but not one that many people ask for because they just don't know to look for it. I think with Kala, many of you folks that are out there looking for these models will Google good ukulele, the Kala ukulele brand will come up, and the KAT model will come up as a fantastic starting point. But as Kala have evolved, they have released different incarnations of that model. This is the Kala KA-TE-C. So a Kala tenor electro with a cutaway. It's laminate mahogany. Once again, it's that fast-growing mahogany that could be classed as NATO or agathis. And it has a laurel fingerboard and bridge, 35mm nut as described with all of these models with those closed back tuners. You have a more simplified pickup on this model than the ones we've just looked at previously. You have a volume and tone, but you don't have the 3-band EQ or the very fancy looking light up tuner, but you do still have a built-in tuner. The jack socket is featured on the bottom here rather than on the end pin socket, and that's becoming a common trend with Kalas. So this model has a strap button fitted already. Yeah, there's nothing not to like about this ukulele. If you want an electro ukulele on a budget, you want something that you can throw in a backpack, take around the world and not worry about it being affected by environmental changes, then this is your boy. Front binding again on the cream binding on the front and back of this ukulele. And there's not really much else to say about it. If you're in the market for your first ukulele and you want something with a cutaway and a pickup, then you should find this ukulele, and if you haven't before, hopefully you have now. Let's give it a play and see what you think. Okay, now I think it's going to be very difficult for me to choose a ukulele on this video that I like more than this instrument. This is the Kala KA-SPMT-TRI. The model name is quite confusing. This is a special ukulele. It's a limited edition model Kala made a year or two back that's still doing the rounds, it's still in circulation, and I hope continues to be. It has a solid spruce top, always a good start, with solid Palfero back and sides. But what's that in the middle? Well, the TRI in the code is for tri-back, because this ukulele has, sorry, I'm trying to get out your light. This ukulele has a mango and Palfero back and sides, based on the Martin D35 guitar, based on a very famous Martin guitar, a guitar that had a split back when Martin ran out of Brazilian rosewood. They started to use a split of Brazilian rosewood with, I think, Indian rosewood, and that birthed the idea of a tri-back. So all these years later, we're using it on ukuleles. The tri-back, the sound of the Palfero and mango together is quite interesting. I wouldn't want to pigeonhole this ukulele and say it sounds like this tone wood or that tone wood. You can definitely hear the spruce top because the instrument's got lots of attack, but the Palfero has projection and depth, and so does the mango. The mango has a kind of sweetness to it. So this ukulele is a mixing bowl of different tone woods and produces its completely own sound as a result. One of the other features about this ukulele I like is it has the block inlays that Kala use on their elite models. It's the only Kala model, I believe, right now that has these mother of pearl inlays on a laurel fingerboard and bridge with a 35mm nut. This has some upgraded Grover style, not branded Grover, but probably Grover open back tuners. And then just finally, this ukulele also has a really sweet inlay on the headstock. Look at that inlay. Why haven't we talked about this ukulele before? I'm ashamed of myself, I must say, because it's always been one of my favourites in the Kala catalogue. It's not one that we always have in stock. One other feature I forgot. Hey, I don't rehearse these things, I do them as I go. One other feature I forgot is the mango binding, which is very hard to spot, but the Palfero is set off by this mango binding, and then you have that mango back. There's a lot to love about this ukulele. It feels very, very deluxe. In fact, actually, I think as it's now end of line, as I film this ukulele is being advertised at a price that's about £100 less than it was in its heyday when it first came out. And yeah, it's also one of the only ukuleles I think we're going to look at today that has a gloss neck, so a slightly different feeling neck to the rest too. Highly recommend the tri-back. If you're going to watch my videos and hope that I tell you which uke to buy, then this is one of two ukuleles today that I can say quite confidently that I would own and would play happily alongside anything I currently own. So let's give the SPMT-TRI a play and see what you think. Okay, well, so we've just looked at the tri-back ukulele, but let's look at the ukulele that replaced it in the catalogue. This is the Kala KA-SPT-SC. This ukulele has much of the same spec, but slightly pared down to the tri-back we've just looked at. You have a solid spruce top with Palfero back and sides. There's no mango on this one, just Palfero. A Palfero fingerboard and bridge instead of laurel. And finally you have this scoop cutaway, so the SPT-SC, that last bit of the code there is for scoop, so that you can reach the upper frets but without a full cutaway to change the sound of the instrument. You also have deluxe gold tuners here with the slight kind of cog shaped tuning pegs, which I've not seen on any other Kala model ever before. And you have another one of those really beautiful inlays there Can't tell what that is. I don't want to dwell on it for too long, but it looks like a raspberry to me. I'm happy to be wrong, but it just looks like a raspberry inlay to me. And this ukulele, just like the Tri-back, is criminally underrated and criminally overlooked. This ukulele often sits on the wall and people who walk in the shop go, oh, I like that, and they have one, but we very rarely get inquiries about these through the website or just people asking us to requesting them for videos. But I really like it. I think that Kala makes some fantastic ukuleles when you start getting up to the all solid wood price category. They are definitely the ukuleles that other companies have based their designs on, and some companies have come first, sure, but it's to be commended that Kala always adapt to the trends, and this scoop feature is a fantastic addition at this price. Anyway, let's give this one a play. This is the KA-SPT-SC. Okay, so let's take it in a slightly different direction now. We'll go back to traditional ukuleles. Nothing really gets more traditional than mahogany or koa, and this is mahogany, solid mahogany, the Kala KA-SMHTE-C. There's a lot of different letters in that code, and they all have their meaning. This is a solid mahogany tenor, electro with a cutaway. We looked at the SMHC-E-C a few moments ago, and this ukulele is the tenor brother of that instrument. It has the slotted headstock with those open back Kala branded tuners, a satin neck with a 35mm nut synthetic material, Graphtec material, solid mahogany body with a laurel fingerboard and bridge. The tenor model has this tortoiseshell binding on the front and back, which gives it just the ultimate kind of classy, timeless look. And you have that deluxe Fishman style preamp and pickup with the built-in tuner, volume and tone controls. The SMHTE-C, I wish I had more fancy words to describe it, but this ukulele does exactly what it needs to do. It looks the part, it sounds the part, it feels the part. It's got a warm, rich sound, and that translates very nicely through the pickup if that's what you're into. But if you're only ever going to play it unplugged and never use the pickup, then you needn't even think that it's there, because this instrument has such a full-bodied character to it. This is the KA-SMHTE-C. Let's give it a play. Okay, and on to our penultimate ukulele of the day today. This is the Kala KA-ATP-CTG-CE. Lots of letters there, very popular range of ukuleles, but this is the ugly duckling in the range for absolutely no good reason whatsoever. This ukulele has a solid cedar top with laminate figured acacia back and sides. You have a gloss finish, and you'll notice that it has this really nice red Paduke binding all the way around. It's on the rosette, it's on the front and back of the body, it's even going all the way up the neck, so you can see the side dots of this instrument just slightly easier than on other Kala models. It has the Kala pickup as well, so you've got the option to plug it in if you need to. A lot of people may get put off by this ukulele because of the laminate back and sides, but the key thing is that this whole range of instruments sound loud and they sound bold and confident. These are a fantastic ukulele if you're somebody that plays the finger picks, but equally if you're a strummer that likes to be heard, these instruments will go loud without breaking up and sounding slightly distorted to the ear. It has a slotted headstock as well. The whole thing kind of reminds me of a pared down classical guitar, and that's not a knock on this instrument. It's definitely a benefit. If you're a guitarist coming over to the ukulele, this might be a fantastic one to look at. And the only reason it's overlooked, I think, is because it's got a cutaway and a pickup, and not everyone is looking for that. But regardless of whether you're going to plug it in or not, this instrument does offer a lot. I may have forgotten to mention it has a Laurel fingerboard and bridge with a 35mm nut. But yeah, the ATP-CTG-CE is definitely worth your attention. So let's give it a play and see what you think. Okay folks, this is our last ukulele of the day today, and this ukulele has been a real trendsetter. Back when this was first introduced in 2016, we'd seen nothing really like this under £1,000, but it seems to have been the catalyst for an entire range and culture of ukuleles. Many of the NU ukuleles that have come since, many of the flights, many of the snails, deluxe looking instruments with cosmetic enhancements. These ukuleles were not here before this model. This is the Kala KA-SPT-CTG-CE, which is part of Kala's Comfort Edge Deluxe ukuleles. So if you're going to get a Kala that's not made in the USA and pay under £1,000, this is the top end model. It has a solid cedar top, solid Palfaro back and sides. You have that Padauk binding all around the front, but what's this big bit of Padauk here? That's an armrest, so you can reach over and you've got maximum comfort. As we continue around the body, you'll notice that the bridge has a really nice piece of Padauk inlaid into it too, really plush looking. And as we come around, you'll see a Florentine cutaway again. A Florentine cutaway. What's the difference? Well, let's look at the ATP-CTG-CE and this model next to each other. The Florentine cutaway is much less curved. It rolls down into the body. If you imagine, it's like taking a complete cut of the body out without reshaping it off. The look of the Florentine cutaway is normally something you reserve for really high-end classical guitars, luthier built instruments, and it's a really welcome addition here. Also, if you just look at that Padauk binding in that cutaway, it's just another reason to like this ukulele. It just looks cool. You have the Kala preamp here with a built-in tuner, so you can plug it into an ampliphone if you desire. Plug it into an amplifier if you desire. You have a Palfaro fingerboard and bridge, so once again, just an upgrade in feel from Laurel, more depth and a deeper texture to it. It feels almost like ebony. Finally, you have these gold deluxe tuners, much like that tri-back model we've just looked at earlier on. And yeah, man, it's just cool. Some of these ukuleles are just really cool. I guarantee, had Kala made a left-hander one of these a few years back, I would have been in the owners club. But alas, I am not. But you could be. This is the Kala KA-SPT-CTG-CE. I'm going to give it a play for you now. Hope you like it. And there you have it, folks. We've looked at 11 overlooked Kala models. Many of them are only overlooked because they have a cutaway and a pickup. How strange is that? It's almost as if they're overlooked because I don't demo many instruments that are this way round when I play them, because they look wrong. I wonder if I've had a negative effect on the sales of these instruments. I sure hope not. But That's all remedied and rectified now. If you have any questions, you can email me in store at alex@ukulele.co.uk. You can call us up 01202 430 820. I'd love to know your favourites in the comments section. Let us know your experiences with Carla. We'll be back very, very soon, but in the meantime, have a good day. Thanks for watching. Take care.